Thank you for the invitation. And I was also nervous when you asked me. I haven't shared my story in a while, and I have to be quite honest that I'm a little nervous speaking with you this afternoon. But I will give you my honest story, and I will share with you my life up to now and how devastating marijuana has affected my life. I'm just going to start off with my experience, and that is I'm a California baby. I was born and raised, born in San Francisco, raised in the Bay Area, and both of my parents are immigrants. My father came from Canada, and my mother has immigrated from South Korea. And early on, I lost my father when I was about 8 years old. And my mother suffered with her own mental illness challenges. When I was very young, she was hospitalized at UCSF for a mental breakdown. And basically, I had to learn at a very young age how to take care of myself. My mother just struggled so much. She survived the Korean War. She lost her family, and she had her own traumas, and really wasn't prepared to raise a daughter and have a family. But we managed through, and luckily I was able to graduate from high school. I went to college, and I was fortunate enough in college to meet a very nice young man. And we ended up getting married, and we had a really wonderful time in college and early marriage. We had 2 children. We had 2 sons, beautiful, beautiful young boys. They were good looking. They were smart. They loved to read, and they loved school. And we had a pretty good life. And I was building my insurance business. My husband was teaching. Before that, he ran a after school care program. So things are going pretty well. I had everything under control, and I felt pretty darn good. And then teenage years came on, and what happened is my oldest son tried some marijuana, but the summer before his senior year in high school, he spent the summer when he was a camp counselor getting stoned a lot. And he fell in love with marijuana. Marijuana became his love. And he was 17 years old. And we did what we thought. We had our boundaries. He had to leave the house because he had pot in the house. He couldn't come back until he was stopped using. And after he graduated, I said he wanted to go back to camp. And I said, well, you have to have a clean test. You have to have a clean pee test. And I gave him the cup, and he said, it's no use trying. So because he didn't have a clean test, he couldn't go away for the summer. He was very, very angry with us, ended up starting his own window washing business, and earned about $3,000 that summer to start college. He did go to college. He had some pretty bad situations come up. He had to go on medical leave. He dropped out for a couple of quarters, but he ended up graduating Cal Poly with a degree in economics and almost a minor in statistics. He was able to get into a PhD program in economics at UC Davis, all the while using marijuana. And so at that point, he was basically a functioning addict. He was able, and what happened is when you go into a PhD program, it's very serious. And if you don't live and breathe economics, you can't get through a PhD program. So he didn't make it. He dropped it. He was dismissed from his program. And I think that was a really big setback for him, but it really was a result of his drug use. It was no surprise to us whatsoever. Anyway, during that time, our youngest son, when he turned 15, came to us and he said, you know, I've been using a lot of marijuana and I'm depressed and I'm scared. I'm really scared of what this is going to happen. So we took upon ourselves to get him into counseling, get him some therapy, and he tried to stop, but his friends were all smoking. It was the cool thing to do. He had a really hard time, and he ended up going to Wilderness, and it was a really great experience for him. But we were really told that Kevin wasn't a strong enough person. He was a follower, that if he came back to the high school, he would get right back into using, because the culture and his friends, they were all users. And mind you, this is back in 2006. So this is 15 years ago when I called several parents about our son's drug use, and they all poo-pooed me. They all said, Hazel, I think you're really overreacting to this. This is really no big deal. This is just a rite of passage. It's like they drink beer on a Friday night after a football game type of thing. I said, no, I think this is serious. I don't like it. It's not good for their studies. They're more aggravated in their personality. Anyway, so we sent Kevin to therapeutic boarding school in Arizona, where he was in a sober environment. He was in a very small school, but he got an education. And basically when he turned 18, because he wanted to come home, he wanted to be with his friends, he wanted to graduate with his friends, he came home when he turned 18, and basically went couch surfing because we would not allow him to have drugs in the house, and we would not allow him to be stoned in our home. So starting then in 2008 was the first time he took a bunch of pills from his grandmother's medicine cabinet. He ended up going into a treatment program. And in 2009, our advisors said, gee, maybe you should go to AlAnon. Maybe you need to start learning about drug use and addiction. So we went into AlAnon, and I have to tell you, I was pretty pissed off that first meeting, because my expectation was this group of parents, it was a parents' meeting, they were going to tell me how to take care of my son, how to get our sons off of marijuana, and kind of give me a roadmap. I'll take it and I'll do it. I can do this. And really what they were saying is, you have to look at this as a family disease. You have to learn as much as you can about addiction, and you have to look at yourself and what your part of this was. And I was really, I was stunned. I was like, my part? What are you talking about? My part? I'm perfect. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm earning a living. I'm providing, this. I have the whole list. Why am I involved in this problem? Okay, I will help facilitate. I will support my sons. I will do what needs to be, but why do I have to look at me? This was a concept, and I was very stubborn about this. It took me months to get it through my thick head, but fortunately, I have to say, Bart and I were on the same page. We were both very devoted, both feet in, learn as much as we can. And I've been in the AlAnon program for the last 12 years. So we're going through it. I start the steps, I get a sponsor. And I meet my sponsor once a week, and we're having coffee. And she says, Hazel, your mother's really your number one qualifier. I said, what are you talking about? Of course, my sons are my qualifiers. They're the ones with the problem. And she says, no, it's actually a little bit more involved than that. And at the time, my mother was very angry with me. She was very frustrated with me. She did blame Bart and I for our son's behavior. She blamed us at the fact that we allowed them to smoke marijuana. That they would even do this, that we did not raise our children correctly. And I was very angry with her. And I really had to do the work on myself. And what I realized is my relationship with my mother was turning into the same relationship I had with my sons. My mother told me exactly what to do and how to do it. And I spent most of my adult life trying to please somebody else. And if somebody asked me what I really wanted to do and what my hopes and dreams were, it was pretty much the script that I was given at a young age. And so my first task was to come to terms with my qualifier and to tell her that I cannot see you anymore. I love you very much, but your words hurt. I am a good person. I'm not a bad parent. I love my sons. I don't think I'm responsible for their marijuana use so far as I've learned. And as long as you are going to treat me this way, then we will not be able to see each other. So I put my mother on a timeout for about 2.5 years. And it gave me the opportunity to really learn about myself, to learn about how I parented, to learn about my control issues, to learn about my perfectionism, and to really try to get honest with myself, because I did have tremendous guilt over my son's drug use. I did feel very responsible because I'm a parent. And at the same time, I struggled with codependency. I wanted to help them. If, I wanted to help them any way I could. And it was really, really frustrating because my youngest son suffered from mental illness. He was clinically diagnosed depressive disorder. He was beginning to show borderline personality disorder traits. He was OCD, and he would lash out at me. And it was really tough. And it was very interesting because when we were trying to find rehabs for them, there weren't a lot of rehabs for marijuana use. We were still getting the feedback from addiction specialists that, well, marijuana is really not that addictive, or it's really, wasn't really that serious. But we were experiencing very serious effects. Kevin was in a psychiatric facility 3 times. He had multiple 5150s at least 5 times, and he attempted to take his life 3 times. And so we really struggled, and Kevin was willing to go into rehab, and he spent quite a few months at Menninger in Houston, Texas, which is one of the best psychiatric facilities in the country. And he really made progress, and it was really great. He would call me up, and I'd spend time with him. And I was so blessed. I experienced the son that I thought I lost, and they started using marijuana again, and the whole cycle started over. So and then at this time, my mother comes back. She makes amends to me, and I have to say that through all of the hell, and I call it hell, that I've been through with this disease, my mother and I have a wonderful relationship. The silver lining is I have a 91-year-old mother who loves me dearly, who shows her love for me every day. She's retired. She worked till she was 86. So when she retired, she cooks us dinner every Friday. And she's just a beautiful person. She completely now understands this addiction. She understands that we did the best we could parenting our sons. And so what ended up happening is Bart and I are going back and forth. And what's so interesting, my experience is that, with Bart, we were always in the same book. 90% of the time we were in the same chapter. And a few times and many times we were on the same page. But I would like to say the first probably 10 years of this, we were not in the same chapter. We're, as parents, each of us, we struggle with our own boundaries, with our own values, with what we feel as parents. How do we love our children? How do we protect them? And we just want them to be able to find the internal motivation themselves to deal with their addiction, to see what's happening. So in 2017, after trying everything we could, we set up a special needs trust. We did therapy. Kevin did ECT, and we had thought we figured out a way to assist them but Kevin would have to get into recovery. He'd have to take care of his mental illness. He really would need to be seen by a psychiatrist and be in a treatment program. And they told us to basically, I can't use these words, but just, you guys can go jump in the lake. And so we detached with love, prayed. Things did not go well at all. Kevin spent a couple of more hospital stays in psychiatric units. He later then got arrested. And I was going to the DA and I was trying to explain to the DA, I gave Kevin's mental health history and I said, this young man needs mental health care. Please, I was pleading for him to get mental health diversion, meaning go to treatment, no jail time. That's what I was pleading for. So 3 weeks before his trial date, Kevin chose to take his life. That was August 14th, 2018. And so at this point, it's Bart and I, we grieved, participated in a understanding suicide grief for survivors. And I have dug pretty deep into my recovery program. I continue to go to my meetings. I continue to lean on the community of in my meetings of the friends, because you are the ones who understand. You are the ones who are going to accept me and support me and understand the frustration and the pain that we go through because of the love of our children. Because we know that addiction is such a strong disease and it really takes our children away from us. Because really the last 10 years, who I was talking to and who I was communicating with was addiction. That was the addict. Those are not my sons. And I read my Courage to Change every day. I do my readings, my AlAnon literature. I go to my meetings, and I chose to sell my business. Bart did all the financial part of it. And he said, Hazel, you can quit if you want. And God willing, I quit. I sold my business about 6 months before Kevin's passing. So God really blessed me in that when my son did pass, I was able to have the time to take care of myself, to grieve, and to live in the present and be there for Bart also. I've had to really, I was one of those moms who, we talk about in our AlAnon meeting, you get those Christmas letters, that are 5 paragraphs long that, we did this, we went to the Grand Canyon, we went to Paris, we did. Well, I was one of those moms. I was. And I thought I had life all under control. And I thought I was doing it also perfectly. And I learned through this process that I'm not perfect. I don't have control, which is a really big disappointment for me. That really pissed me off the first 6 months. I have to tell you, I struggled with that. But now I know I don't have control over anyone or anything but myself. But meanwhile, I try to share the things that I've learned through recovery with other people. I can tell you that I'm pretty happy with my life. I love the partner that I've had. We've been married for 40 years and he is my rock. And I feel very blessed to have this partner in my life, to hold my hand, to be there for me. My mom's there, and I have wonderful friends, and I have you. The people in this room, I probably have never met you before, but I know that you care about me. I know that you think good thoughts of me, and I really appreciate that. And that's what's really important, is I have found that I can find joy in my life. We're going to go to Monterey for 3 days, and we're going to be with Kevin's spirit, think of him, celebrate him, and really appreciate the wonderful human being that he was. And I feel very blessed. I start my day with a gratitude list. I look out of my window, I can see the Carquinez Straits. I see the sailboats sailing by, and I feel very fortunate. And I'm going to end with this poem that I found. It does subject is grief, but I think you can also apply it to recovery. It's called Grief is Like a River. My grief is like a river. I have to let it flow, but I myself determine just where the banks will go. Some days the current takes me in waves of guilt and pain, but there are always quiet pools where I can rest again. I crash on rocks of anger. My faith seems faint indeed, but there are other swimmers. Who knows what I need? Are loving hands to hold me when the waters are too swift, and someone kind to listen when I just seem to drift. Grief's river is a process of relinquishing the past. By swimming in hope's channels, I will reach the shore at last. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate you so much. And that's it.